Okay, hi everyone. Welcome again to AuthorStory. I'm Alexander Lim, your host. And for this episode, I'm interviewing Jenny Johnston, author of the book Tapping into Past Lives, Heal Soul Traumas, and Claim Your Spiritual Gifts with Quantum EFT. And as early as now, you can go to the Amazon link on the video description below to check out Jenny's book. So, Jenny, welcome. Great to have you here on AuthorStory.
Thanks for having me all the way from Melbourne, Australia.
Okay, so Jenny, what's your background? How did you get involved with EFT?
Well, I'm an occupational therapist by trade, and I'd always done relaxation therapy and was interested in hypnotherapy. But when I did my hypnotherapy diploma, I was introduced to EFT, and I went on to combine hypnotherapy and EFT. And then I was really interested in past life regression, so I became an advanced past life regression hypnotherapist. And then I also combined the teachings of Cryon, which is a spiritual channeler, and the messages. And I combined the messages from Cryon about mining the Akash, which is your past lives, and EFT and past life regression, and also matrix re-imprinting that I'd done, which was about working with EFT in time, space, and place. However, I evolved it and modified it, where we use also our higher self and our spiritual guides to take us to where we need to go to either release blocks that are blocking us in this current lifetime, or to find gifts and characteristics and experiences in other lifetimes that are positive and bring them back and activate them in this lifetime.
I see. So from the start, you were you're already like a therapist then.
Yeah, I was an occupational therapist. And I worked with relaxation therapy and also with veterans. And when I'd done EFT, I worked also with trauma with veterans and PTSD. So I was very used to working with people with trauma. And when I took it into past lives, there was often people who have trauma in this life and had massive traumas in other lifetimes. And it was basically being repeated in this lifetime because it was a soul pattern.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool. I got that. Let's talk about traumas a little later. But first, I'd like to ask about EFT, since I'm sure there are quite a few people out there who don't know what EFT is or what it's all about. Can you just give a little summary of what EFT is?
Yeah, sure. EFT is commonly called tapping, and approximately 10 million people around the world know about tapping now. But what it is, it's using the acupressure points on the body. So the ancient Eastern meridians techniques of acupuncture. But instead of putting needles into these points, we're tapping and sending a pulse through these points, activating the relaxation response in the body and switching off the fight or flight, adrenaline, cortisol response.
Okay, so it's sort of like a combination of Eastern acupuncture
and modern psychology techniques. It's called energy psychology, and there's many methods of energy psychology, but EFT or tapping is the most commonly used or the most popular or the most well-known. And so what we do is we use cognitive thoughts and consciousness, as well as the brainwaves go down into subconscious. So we're using consciousness and subconsciousness and the wisdom of the body through the meridians to tune into a memory that is traumatic or that has a negative emotional charge. And while tapping on it and accepting and talking to our body, we process and release the trauma and the traumatic conditioned response that the body has in the subconscious. And so we create a new positive response or a calm response.
Okay, cool, I got that. So just a little question, because your book mentions quantum EFT. Is this sort of like a sub part of EFT, or is this EFT itself?
Yeah, well, it's something that I created out of all of my knowledge and experience. Matrix re-imprinting is where you also work in time, space, and place. So if you had a 4-year-old trauma, you would go and work with the 4-year-old. However, they would call it an echo and they would be tapping on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I evolved that to be still working in time, space, and place. So quantumly going back in time to that 4-year-old, or back to womb, or back to another lifetime, where you step into that memory as you sort of time traveling from the future. So you now personally traveling back in time to say when you were having a traumatic event in another lifetime, saying, I'm your soul from the future and I'm here to help, and having a conversation with them and freezing everything around them so that you can be tapping on them and releasing the trauma and everything that they're going through in that time, releasing the belief that they created, but by also then going up into the higher learning above that, into a spiritual place, gaining the higher learning and the lesson around that, and then bringing it back down into that lifetime and changing and shifting everything.
Okay, so it's something like, for our listeners who are probably more familiar with other methods, something like regression, hypnotherapy regression, something like that.
Yes, it is. And
it is. Okay.
it is what I sometimes call waking hypnosis, because consciousness is there, still observing, but our brainwaves are in the subconscious levels. So we're doing a waking hypnosis. We're engaging that part of our brain that we call our imagination, which is where spirit speaks through to us, but it's also where our subconscious is more engaged. So that we're changing our reality through our subconscious, but also in time and space. And if we change something back in, a 4-year-old experience or a past life experience,
right,
we're often changing the energy around us and with other people.
Okay, cool, I got that. Okay, so all right, that's very interesting. So let me get this clear. I mean, your clients, they don't, because there's like a popular image of, you get hypnotized and you fall asleep, you go eyes closed and all that stuff. So it's these guys are awake. I mean, your clients are awake while you conduct this therapy.
Exactly. So we're tapping on the meridian points. The brain waves go into the subconscious area, and I ask people to let me know if something pops into their mind. And often when we're tapping on a certain emotion or theme, they will say, "Oh, I just got a flash of this," and it might be a childhood memory that just suddenly pops into their mind, or it might be a flash of a past life.
Okay, interesting. All right, okay.
While we're tapping, or I can be actually doing a past life regression with them where it is hypnotherapy. Okay. So there's two ways that I work.
All right, that's cool. That's very interesting. All right. So your book refers to past lives and soul traumas. First off, can you define what a soul trauma is?
Sure. So if you were guillotined in another lifetime because you were a healer and you were called a heretic and you were guillotined for that, do you think that your cells don't remember that and you'd be holding yourself back from being a healer in this lifetime?
Oh, well, actually, if you just believe strictly scientific, I mean, there's no such thing as past life. But if such is possible, then it is possible then to feel that that thing.
However, what I've found is that people who don't even believe in past lives notice that they keep self-sabotaging and they can't step into true success as a healer or in their business and stand in their truth as a person. Or if they were killed in battle and they have a fear of confrontation, then that fear of confrontation is running in the background in their life now. They don't even realize where it's come from.
Right. Okay. So how do... Yeah, please go ahead.
So if we go back into tuning into that and we ask the body, where does this come from? And we follow it back to its origin and we clear it at its origin, then it's no longer there running as a program in the background and we don't get self-sabotaged anymore.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so how would soul trauma show up in our lives? Are there any particular symptoms or indications if
Yeah,
we are
sure.
suffering?
Yeah, there can be emotional and beliefs that are running in the background, of course, which I
Mm-hmm.
sort of just described, but there's also physical components. Like I just worked with a lady who had severe headaches and that only
Okay.
came on at a certain age. And these severe headaches, she'd tried everything for. And it was particularly when she started going into business for herself.
Okay.
And so when we tuned back into a past life, and this was with a past life hypnotherapy regression,
Okay.
she found that in another lifetime she was a male, she was a business, working in business, loved business,
Right.
was very passionate about business, but died from head injuries from a car accident
Ouch. Okay.
on the way back from a business meeting. And so in this lifetime, when she'd started stepping into business, her cells remembered that.
Hmm.
Her DNA remembered that. And so we cleared it all. And
Okay.
she's now going into business, and she feels clear and she doesn't have those headaches.
Cool. Nice. Nice. Cool.
The belief that she had back then was that business is great, I love it, but it's also dangerous and it'll kill me.
Well, given the way her past life ended, I can see that.
Yeah. So there's also beliefs that will come up from people, um, that, like I've got some examples in my book. You don't have to believe in a past life for it to go to a past life. I
Hmm.
had one man who had a fear of abandonment, and we traced it back to when he was a baby and was abandoned and tapped on all of that, but it hadn't shifted.
Hmm.
And so when we tapped on having the intention to go to its origin, wherever that may be in this life or any life,
Right.
suddenly he remembered being an Aboriginal and
Uh-huh.
having the bones pointed at him. And in Aboriginal law or history, having the bone pointed at you means that you're being sent out of the community, out into the bush to die
Oh, okay.
alone. So complete abandonment, rejection. And that was the theme that had always run through his life, and yet he'd worked on it and worked on it, and nothing had shifted it until we worked on it in that lifetime, where and he says in the book, the video link for the actual session is in the book as well,
Hmm.
where he said, I'm not a past life kind of guy. Like his consciousness was saying, I don't believe in past lives. I'm not a
Right. Right.
past kind of guy. However, here's all the emotion. I can see it. I can feel it. I'm an Aboriginal and the bones being pointed at me and I'm being rejected by my whole community and sent out to die.
Right. Okay. Wow. Heavy.
Yeah. So we cleared that and, yeah, things shifted then.
All right. Fantastic. So how's he doing now?
He's doing really great in business and in life.
Ah, fantastic.
So,
Fantastic.
the rejection didn't just come from relationships, it was business, it was life, everything he felt rejected and abandoned by. And now he can step into things and know that he's not going to be rejected and abandoned. And so he can put his full self in, if you know what I mean.
Right. Right. Cool. Fantastic. So, Jenny,
Mm.
if a person figures out that he or she has a soul trauma, whether it's past, present, or future, what can they do about it? I mean, I take it maybe they like look for a standard psychiatry. Do they have to go to you? What can they do about it?
Yeah, they can do online sessions with me. I have a few people that I'm running a certification program later this year. So there's quite a few people that have trained with me
Hmm.
that will be able to do this sort of work as well.
Hmm.
I'm coming to the US. I do workshops all around the world, but I'm coming to the US and Canada in June, July, and August. So I run workshops there. And I'll also be creating online workshops for people, probably in the second half of the year, so that they can come and learn this technique and shift things for themselves as well.
All right.
Uh, or I do an intensive Transform Your Life program where we use quantum EFT and past life regressions intensively over a month to get some really big shifts happening in your life.
Hmm.
But people can do that with past life regression or just tapping using quantum EFT and having the intention, asking body, guides, higher self to take us to the lifetime where this, or the origin where this occurred. And so we quite often just get taken there and clear it by tapping back there.
Cool. Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so Jenny, now getting to the book, what inspired you to write this book in particular? I mean, like, you could have just go on with your current practice without writing a book, but you decided to write a book. What?
Yeah, the reason I wrote the book was the stories and experiences that my students were having in the workshops and in private sessions were so profound, and had the higher learning that people were getting was so profound, and the shifts in their lives were so amazing and transformational, that I wanted other people to know about it and to read about it, and for people to get, oh, that's what happens to me, or for people to relate to their stories and go, oh, there is hope. There is hope, for people who have worked on themselves so much through this life and still haven't felt that shift, or haven't released a trauma, or
Right.
haven't been able to step into their true power and their purpose in this lifetime, then there is a way to do that. And there's also stories of people who do what we call mine the Akash, which is about going into past lives not just to heal things, but to find the gifts, to find the confidence. Like, there's a story in the book of one lady who, when she stood in her truth, she was killed for it.
Okay.
So we cleared, and then we went into another lifetime searching for the confidence to be in her truth. So a lifetime where she was standing in her truth and her passion and living that life, and it was positive. And it went to a lifetime when she was in the 50s as a German professor, and she was presenting this scientific work to audiences of hundreds. And she got the experience of wanting to be heard, of people really being interested in what she had to say. And since then, she's written a book, and she's on to her second book now. It's an amazing book. And she's really stepped into her true power and her truth and her passion of writing and being a healer.
All right.
So it's about people going back and experiencing like it is their memory, experiencing a really great lifetime that had lots of positives that can be applied in this lifetime.
Right. Okay. So, in effect, is that essentially what your readers will get out of your book? Stories and inspiration.
Yes, and they'll get aha moments of, oh my God, that maybe that's what's happening with me.
Okay. Okay.
If they didn't believe in past lives before they read this book, they will afterwards. And they also get lots of links to lots of the videos from people's stories in the actual book. So some of them are actual videos of the session they had. Some of them are them talking about the session they had. But very interesting stories that you can see, video links to the stories. Yep.
All right, cool. That's interesting because with a lot of books, there's sort of like no checks, no sources. But what I find interesting here is that people can really check online and immediately, they get a feel for the sources themselves, the source of the stories.
Exactly. And I also have a website, tappingintopastlives.tv, where I have some videos of the actual sessions from the workshops from last year's North America tour to give you an idea of how I work using quantum EFT in the workshops live.
All right, cool. All right. So let me just go a little bit into the process here. This is something I've also wanted to ask about because I know that Angela Loria, your publisher, Difference Press, she was very instrumental in helping you write and publish this book.
Yes.
And she teaches about an ideal reader, someone who I think is a complete person, likes, dislikes, motivations, and that person may or may not be real. So who was your ideal reader for this book?
My ideal reader was a real person. It was
Okay.
somebody who came to my workshop who knew a little bit about EFT, but she wanted to investigate what EFT would do for her and her life. But she was somebody who was um, in a job that she enjoyed, but it wasn't her passion. She was actually a midwife,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't really like the conventional way that midwifery works. She was
Okay.
wanting to bring alternatives in, a very spiritual person, and she wanted to work out how she could step into her power and be true to her beliefs, and also incorporate her existing skills and knowledge and passion into that. And so she actually came and did my workshop, and what she's doing now is she's trained as a certified EFT practitioner. She's done the quantum EFT workshop. She's practicing with clients and about to open her own business as a midwife who uses alternatives. She's also trained as doing hypnobirthing.
Okay.
And so she's going to create a business that still combines her love of midwifery and helping women who are pregnant and afterwards nursing, but also being able to step into her true power and her true beliefs about spirituality, EFT, empowering women to be able to use alternative methods and not just the conventional go to the hospital, have a baby methods.
Right. Right. Okay. As because I'm asking you because you would speak from personal experience. How effective was having an ideal reader for you when you were writing out this book?
Yeah, it was really effective because I was writing to a person who I knew, but there was many people that I knew that were like that had come to my workshops that were, in a job that they weren't quite happy with, and they wanted to step into their true power and their purpose, or they weren't sure what they were doing, but there was a dissatisfaction with their life at some level.
Mm, okay. All right. Okay. Got that. So, all right. Fantastic. And the book, I guess, turned out pretty good from that.
Yeah, it became a bestseller in
All
the
right.
first days, and it's been selling well ever since. Since then, I bought it out as Kindle first,
Hmm.
but people kept emailing me saying, "Is it coming out in print?" So then we did the print version as well,
Oh, okay.
um, and you can get both on Amazon.
All
Mm.
right. Cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Fantastic. So Jenny, authors write nonfiction books. Sometimes they go on a journey as they do so. Like before they wrote the book, they were thinking one way about a particular thing. Then after they wrote the book, they thought a different way about that same thing. Has working on this book done that for you?
It's enabled me to step into my true purpose
Hmm.
because it was more in the background before I wrote the book. Or probably while I was running the first workshops, I was thinking about writing a book and
Okay.
thinking about stepping out of occupational therapy and stepping fully into being an EFT trainer and a quantum EFT trainer, and I wanted to run workshops around the world. I wanted the world to be able to get this information,
Hmm.
but I wasn't sure how because my bread and butter income came from occupational therapy,
Right.
and EFT was something I was doing on the side, which was a love, of course. So writing my book enabled me to quit my job as an occupational therapist and to step fully into my love and my passion. And just having the intention of writing the book and doing the first North America tour, that's when I fully stepped into my truth and my power and quit my job as an occupational therapist. And
Okay.
it's been onward and upward since then.
Right. That sounds great. Okay, so Jenny, let's say you meet up with someone who is totally unaware of whatever it's bothering or traumatizing him or her. and you had only time to tell him or her, one thing, the most important thing about this issue or figuring it out, what is it that you would tell that person?
To have the intention to go to its origin, wherever it began in this life or any life. So if there's an issue or a problem that they're addressing now, to see the bigger picture of them as a soul, and that this is just one chapter of their soul life, and it's likely that this pattern is not just here in this lifetime, that it began a long time ago, and to open up their view of themselves as not just now, but as a soul. And that's what this book is looking at, is your life as a soul and what it has to offer you, and also where the blockages are coming from.
All right, cool. That's pretty good advice right there. So, Jenny, what's your ultimate vision for your platform? What would you like to have happen at the end of all this?
I'd like people who are interested in this to be able to get to it from wherever they are in the world, so that I don't have to travel to that particular place. The online courses that I have the intention to run will have some live time with me, as well as some homework that they can do and modules that they will do. But there will always be live time with me, and I never want it to be so big that it's not intimate, because it is an intimate process.
Yeah, it is.
And when I do the one-on-one work with people, it's even more intimate. But doing the small group work is still very intimate, and you get your own stuff out of that. I have recordings of the past life regressions and mining the Akasha regressions that I do in the workshops that people can practice with, and they're available on the link in my book, and also tapping into pastlives.tv, so that they can practice that on their own and go on their own journey without me even being there.
Right. Okay, cool. So in the last few minutes of this episode, Jenny, are there any last words of wisdom you would like to share to inspire our listeners? It could be related to what you're doing. It might not. It's your call.
Yeah, just to let everyone know that they are so much more than they think they are. We get so caught up with the busyness of our lives that we don't step back and look at us from a different perspective. And that's part of the work that I do, is that I take people up into their higher learning, so that they're looking down on their life and seeing it differently and getting the higher learning from that. And so I ask people to do that even in this life, is like step way above that to that higher place and look at what's going on in your life, and get the higher learning at a soul level, even from where you are in this life.
All right. Well, great words right there. So in closing, the book is Tapping into Past Lives, Heal Your Soul Traumas and Claim Your Spiritual Gifts with Quantum EFT. The authors are guest Jenny Johnston, and you can visit her website at jennyjohnston.com.au. That's JOHNSTON, mind you. So jennyjohnston.com.au. You can also check out her other website at quantumeft.com.au, and you can also check out her Facebook page on the book, which is tappingintopastlives.tv. Oh yes, on the Facebook you can get the first 3 chapters of the book for free. Also, this is correct, right, Jenny? You're doing a North American tour this coming June, July, and August this year. Is that correct?
I am, and for the US cities, it's quantumeft.com.au/package, and for Canada, it's quantumeft.com.au/info. So there's 7 or 8 different cities that I'm attending this time in June, July, and the first week of August.
All right, cool. So, listeners, feel free to check that out. Who knows? Jenny might be coming to a city near you. So, Jenny, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being an author story. And guys, if you want to tap into your past lives, well, Jenny Johnston is the coach to go to.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Cool. And if you'd like to follow our author interviews on YouTube, just click the subscribe button. If you'd like, go ahead and buy the book right now, going to the Amazon link in the video description below. So for now, so long everyone. I'll be back next time on Author Story with another inspiring author.